Hi, my name is Colin Trout, and I represent the defendant named McDonald's Corporation. McDonald's is a fast food multinational corporation that has been in business for several years. So they started this competition, like a monopoly campaign, where they would have stamps on their food items to redeem prizes. So you could either collect to win, which meant that you had to collect a certain number of stamps, a certain kind of stamps to win your prize, or you can get an instant win stamp, which meant that just with that stamp you could redeem your prize. So the plaintiff, Vanessa Barnes, went in one day to get some hash browns. She found on her hash browns that there was a stamp that said $200,000 Dream Home Cash stamp 818. Needed stamps 818, 819, and 820 to win. And then it also said dash instant winner. So she saw this, and then she went on to file it to the redemption center to redeem her prize, and win her $200,000 prize. So once she sent it in, my client sent her a letter stating that her stamp was in fact a misprint and that she was not entitled to the prize and they would not be paying out the prize to her. So she thought this was a malicious breach of contract based upon their rule book and just completely in conflict with the Arkansas Prize Promotion Act. So she filed suit under the terms and asserted that my client, McDonald's Corporation, breached their own contract of their own rule book and also was in direct conflict with the Arkansas Prize Promotion Act. So the basic dispute being heard here is that whether or not the McDonald's Corporation, even though this was a flawed stamp, should have to pay out this $200,000 prize to someone, like whether that she was the rightful winner or not. So after she filed suit, the court found that my client substantially complied with the language of the Arkansas Prize Promotion Act with their unilateral contract that they created on their rule book, which I'll explain later. And the remedy that was granted to my defendant, the client, or my client, or the defendant, my client, was that they didn't have to fulfill this prize to Miss Barnes. So later, Barnes would go on to appeal to the district court, which granted summary judgment to my client, the McDonald's Corporation, on her claims of breach of contract. So the legal question being presented here is that whether or not my client committed a breach of contract by not giving the client or not giving the plaintiff her prize that she had won. And what needed to be decided is whether these rules, whether the judgment of the McDonald's Redemption Center was congruent to the rule book that they had set out. So some stakeholders in this case are all people invested in this contest, so people who could have been rightful winners of this prize. The plaintiff, obviously, as she was affected by this, and all future contestants of McDonald's prize promotion things. So the ethical dilemma being faced here is whether or not my client is responsible for this mess up, whether they should be in good faith and they should pay the plaintiff for the prize that she had won. But I mean, even though she's not the rightful winner, she did receive a stamp that said instant winner on it. Another ethical dilemma being faced here is the unfaithful nature of the plaintiff. She knew it was a misprint because of the conflicting language of saying collect to win and instant prize, but she'd still continue to try and lie her way to the top and gain this prize, which takes it away from not only the McDonald's Corporation, my client, but possible winners in the future. So my client's argument is that their rule book set forth a unilateral contract which had one of the requirements was that the possession of the stamp. And since the plaintiff no longer had possession of the stamp as she sent it in, knowing it was completely false and like conflicting language, she no longer had possession of it, not entitling her to a prize, which also meant that my client had no duty to perform, leading to their argument of no breach of contract. So the opponent's argument was that the rules set forth in the competition, or the plaintiff's argument was that the rules set forth were in direct conflict with the Arizona Prize Promotion Act. She thought that the terms and conditions of the promotion should be directly on the stamp. There were no restrictions present on the physical stamp, and then also that they breached their own contract, that my client breached their own contract by not awarding her the $200,000 prize. So A couple things factored into the laws involved in this. Case law, which was the Arizona Prize Promotion Act. I'm sorry, not case law, just regular law, the Arizona Prize Promotion Act. This was a huge piece of this as it supported their concept of this unilateral contract being formed, which led to, the court's verdict that they didn't have to pay it out. And then also, there was another case, the Weibel v. McDonald's Corporation, which was almost like a mirror of this, which is as a as someone who gained a token from a local grocery store who was having a completely separate competition tried to submit this token into McDonald's for some kind of payment. So it shows like the nature of a unilateral contract, as this person did not comply with it at all because this token had nothing to do with McDonald's. So the legal analysis present here is that the district court applied the law of the unilateral contract and found that the plaintiff indeed did not comply with the rules and regulations of this, which meant that there was no contract to be created, and thus there was no breach of contract, and that she would not be receiving her $200,000 cash prize. So the final ruling was that McDonald's was dropped of all charges, as they should have been, because the notice of the competition was given and the regulations of the competition was given, and that the stamp was obviously a misprint, and that the Barnes was acting in bad faith, trying to lie her way to the top. So the importance of this case is that without this kind of like case happening, so many future businesses would have to go through problems of promotional acts like this because of unfaithful customers.